Sharingan, Byakugan, Rinnegan. These three are the most reputed of all Dojutsu. That is to say, they're the most well-known and believed to be the strongest and most versatile. But as the light of intelligence spreads, so too does the dark circumference of ignorance. The intelligent know that they do not know everything. It is the ignorant who believe that they do know everything because they don't know how much they do not know. That's the reason why the three most reputed dojutsu are no longer up to date. Many other dojutsu have been revealed, and each one possesses wonderful powers. With as much as we see of the Rinnegan these days, it seems to lose its special nature and makes me wonder how long it'll be until Orochimaru learns to simply recreate it, just as he did with the Sharingan and its Mangekyo Variant. But coming to the point, the dojutsu often forgotten is another dojutsu of the 6 paths that appears to be even rarer than the Rinnegan, the Tenseigan, and its power is magnificent, as great as the Rinnegan in some ways, yet completely and utterly shrouded in mystery. That's going to be the topic of today's video. What if Naruto possessed the Tenseigan? Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Hiyashi Hyuga ran through the rain. Thankfully, the downpour was enough to start putting out much of the flames, but through the downpour, a bitter chill was entering the air, making it all the more difficult to rescue survivors, or for the survivors themselves. He walked through the broken doors and into the hospital, the hem of his kimono dripping onto the floor. There was the sound of crying, children wounded or present at the death of their parents, pain, suffering. The village was filled with it. The hidden leaf had once been a beacon of strength, a dare to the very heavens to test their power, and God had answered. He answered with death and judgment. In one night, in one single night, the whole village had been abased. The pride they had held turned to shame, as their joy too turned to sorrow. Hiyashi was thankful that the Hyuga clan compound had been out of the way of the battle, safely distant from the beast that had torn through the village. The Nine-Tails, a beast of legend from which had spawned many tales of kitsune. But he had never believed it to be so large. He had no clue how truly powerful this demon was. No one did. Not until it was far too late, and by that time, Konoha was already devastated. Hiyashi remembered where he was when it began. Taking a midnight stroll around the compound, hoping to settle his soul for a night's rest, he had felt something was off and needed to work on his issues with movement. That was when the beast appeared, like an explosion in the center of the village. He called out, and many of the second branch's men immediately got out of bed, grabbing their gear and rushing off to help. Many Hyuga clan brethren did not make it home that night to their children. But despite how tragic it was, this was not to say that the Hyuga clan had it worse than anyone else. The damage sustained in their compound was nothing more than shrapnel falling from the heavens as the beast tore its way closer to the Hokage's monument, the mere sight of the village's founders causing it to rampage. And as soon as it had appeared, it too had left. No doubt the work of the 4th Hokage. But now, as Hiyashi had been helping with rescue efforts, he received word that the former 3rd Hokage Hiruzen had requested his presence at the hospital, and so now there he was. He inquired as to where the 3rd was and was informed by a visibly overworked and overstressed nurse that the 3rd Hokage was on the 3rd floor. And so Hiyashi made his way up the stairs as fast as he could. Making it in, he saw the 3rd looking in at a tiny child laying warm and safe in a bed. "Lord Hiruzen, what have you called me for?" Hiruzen, arms crossed, began to stroke the hair on his chin in thought. "Hiyashi, I don't need to tell you. Konoha is in trouble." "I know, Lord Hiruzen. The Hyuga will loyally protect this village with their lives. You know, this we vow." Hiruzen nodded. "We're going to need it." He turned to face Hiyashi. 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze is dead." Hiyashi felt as if his breath had been robbed from his lungs. "The Hokage is dead?" Hiruzen nodded. "He, along with his wife, were found at the scene of the battle, their bodies in such condition that we did not need to wait for a medical examiner to declare them deceased." Hiyashi looked down. "What will happen to the village?" he said as he looked up. "The people need a leader right now. They're suffering, and they're going to need someone to look up to." Hiruzen nodded. "I will fulfill the role of Hokage once again. Perhaps my appearance will bring stability in the upheaval. The council has already decided to grant me the title, along with all necessary emergency powers. But this is not the only reason why I've called for you." Hiyashi seemed confused. "It's not." Hiruzen pointed in. "That child possesses something truly special, truly wondrous." "What is it?" Hiyashi asked. Hiruzen motioned for him to follow him in. Once inside, Hiruzen gently lifted the child's eyelid to display a blue not unlike a pristine lake, untouched by man's influence. Within these eyes were the petals of a golden lotus, its appearance not unlike the 1,000-petaled chakra, Sahasrara. Hiyashi was awestruck. What is this Dojutsu, Hiyashi? It's obviously not a Sharingan. It's not a Rinnegan, nor is it one of the lesser-known Dojutsu, such as the Ketsuryugan. I've never seen one like this before. Hiruzen shook his head. I don't know. He looked back at the baby and closed its eye. This storm. What? Hiyashi asked, questioning the sudden meaning of this deluge out of the blue. This storm, Hiruzen said. This child summoned it. Hiyashi was startled. It summoned it. Hiruzen once again nodded his head, affirming the answer. When I lifted the child into my arms, it began to cry. And as it cried, the skies above began to form clouds. And then it began to rain. It has rained ever since. Hiyashi was startled by this. He began to think back about it. Do you know what this Dojutsu is? Hiruzen asked. Hiyashi continued to think. I can't be certain, but there is a legend passed down from generation to generation within the Hyuga clan of a lost Dojutsu with the power of star beings and the capabilities to mold and reshape the world into whatever it desires. The legend dates all the way back to our earliest ancestor, Hamura, but it would be impossible. This child shouldn't have this ability. It's so rare that it's never appeared once within the Hyuga clan since the founder of our clan. So why would it appear in a clan not even connected to the Hyuga? Hiruzen shook his head. Maybe it's possible that whatever genetics were required to awaken this Dojutsu are concocted together within this child. Or perhaps it's simply best to admit already that we may never know. As it stands, this child does not possess any next of kin, and the only one who could take care of it has been out of the village for quite some time and likely won't take interest in protecting the child when he does return. So perhaps you can take Naruto under your wing. If his Dojutsu is the same as the one you mentioned earlier, then he would do best to be under your care. Hiyashi nodded. After some time had passed, Hiyashi would take the child and bring it to the Hyuga compound to live with him and the others. There, Hiyashi hoped to discover the truth of this matter, or at the very least, ensure that the child had a happy life. Heavy breathing, running, the sound of crunching leaves as they were ground underfoot. You can run, but you can't hide, a voice cried out from behind. Hinata Hyuga ran as fast as she could. She knew that this was true. It was impossible to hide from a user of the Byakugan. The Byakugan was so good that it could see chakra signatures and even see through solid objects. Hinata would have a hard time hiding like this, but she couldn't run forever. What could she do? She began to think. The only way to obscure a Byakugan's ability to see her chakra signature is by obscuring it with more chakra, she said to herself. But how? How do I do this? She found herself running to a river. There she stopped as she was only halfway across it. She would then utilize the techniques that all Hyuga seemed to possess and would spin as fast as she could with her 8 trigrams palm rotation technique to not only kick up water but to also infuse it with her chakra, creating a chakra cloak that the Byakugan couldn't get through. It was thick enough to impair regular vision as well as chakra vision, and thanks to the heat in the air, the mist would slowly dissipate as steam, which only further helped make it near impossible to see through. Hinata found a place under a nearby tree to hide. She used a large leaf to cover the entrance. As she crawled in, she noted that this hole had been used before. It must have been an old abandoned fox den. She was thankful it was here. With the cover down, she knew that she'd be safe to hide here for a while at least. As she laid there, she attempted to catch her breath until she heard splashing of feet moving through the lake. She covered her mouth to hush her loud panting. She saw a pair of feet stop in front of the den. A bead of sweat rolled down her cheek as she watched. Please, move on, she begged and pleaded within herself. Please, just move on. The next moments felt like they took forever, but eventually the feet would run off. After a moment to be sure that she was alone, Hinata would sigh. She had gotten away, or so she thought. A pair of hands reached into the den. She kicked away, attempting to go deeper in, only to have her ankles caught by the hands. She was pulled out with a scream. There she saw Naruto standing over her. Found you. Hinata grunted as she laid her head back on soft dirt. How did you know I was here? She asked. Simple. Nobody kicks up a distraction like that if they're so far ahead that they can't be seen by even a Byakugan. When I ran ahead and didn't see you anywhere, despite the distraction being extremely fresh, I knew that it meant you must have been hiding in it, camouflaging yourself. I came back and noticed a chakra signature underground, not a place where mist like this would gather. So I pulled you out. Hinata sighed. Why are you so smart all the time? She asked. He offered her a hand, which she took. Honestly, it's hard to play these sorts of games when you have X-ray vision. He pulled her to her feet. She looked up to see the pearls that were normally a silvery color, but on some days, under some light, appeared a cream white. Despite not being a Hyuga, Naruto possessed Byakugan, and they weren't pilfered or transplanted either. Some believed that Naruto was a Hyuga distantly, but the truth of his lineage could not be definitively known. And since Naruto could not actually be pinned as a Hyuga, that meant that the Hyuga had less control over him. This meant that they could not force him to take the curse mark, because they couldn't even prove he was a member of the secondary branch. Given that he was within the household of Hiashi, he was simply granted the title of a first branch member and mostly left alone. An enigma is what he was, but all the same, he'd become like family to them. Not only did he possess Byakugan though, he possessed something that had never been seen before to the elders' knowledge. It was believed that Naruto possessed the mythical Tenseigan. All of this together gave him incredible skill, but what was more, Naruto knew how to use it. He had incredible pride, and with Neji being hailed as a genius, the two would often train together, with Naruto desiring to push past Neji to prove that he could be a genius too. That drive to learn and grow stronger led to Naruto becoming not only more knowledgeable, but wiser too, as he had just displayed. It was one thing to possess information, but another thing entirely to apply it to situations one faced on a daily basis. The old Naruto would have never found her, but this Naruto could not even be spoken about in the same sentence as the old one. He was a totally different shinobi now. And thanks to his tireless effort and desire to pass Neji in combat prowess and shinobi skills, Naruto had begun to take his studies seriously, which led to him moving up in class at the academy, going from class dud to valedictorian in quick succession. This gave him a confidence boost, and with his eventual absorption of the gentle fist techniques, even the school bullies had to respect him, else they end up drooling into the tatami flooring when their bodily functions betray them due to Naruto striking just the right tenketsu. This left him a popular boy in class among others, especially with the girls. They saw his actions and could sense his strength. His confident smile in the face of adversity, as well as his delinquent blonde hair, spiked up as a challenge to the establishment, had every girl ready to defy their parents just to spend time with him. But all the same, despite possessing these traits, Naruto only ever seemed to want to spend time with a single girl, and that was Hinata. To be frank, Hinata couldn't quite pin their relationship. Naruto lived in the home of Hiashi, and saw Hiashi like a father, so that would make Naruto like her brother, right? But then why was it that when she saw him training in the cool of the evening that her heart raced? Why was it that when he smiled at her like this, she felt a warm feeling welling up down deep within? All the while, Naruto couldn't help it himself. He looked down into her beautiful eyes and felt a longing to hold her, but he dared not go that far, not while living under her father's roof. That would be disrespectful to the man who had raised him. Naruto pulled away, clearing his throat and scratching the back of his head. Hinata herself pulled her arms back in, turned her body to the side as if she were contemplating running, but simply smiled with a slight blush. Naruto offered a bow of respect. "Thank you for playing this game with me, Lady Hinata." The girl smiled but dared not speak, simply looking back at him. She hated it when he called her Lady Hinata. He was her friend, and every time he did so, he made it sound like they were less than that. But she understood what it was to be flustered. She was flustered at this moment as well. Together, the two walked back to the compound where Hiashi sat with a pipe, a cup of tea, and the day's newspaper. He looked over at the two and smiled. Every day, Naruto grew stronger, and every day his Tenseigan displayed some new seedling of an ability. But something troubled Hiashi. While it remained out of the paper, the Uchiha were not very good at keeping secrets. They had also experienced an awakening. A child had been born among them that only recently awakened a dojutsu of his own that seemed to hold legendary status, the Rinnegan. To most, this would seem like a blessing. The village was entering a golden age of peace, with two young protectors fulfilling the roles of the previous sages of six paths. But Hiashi could not help but feel troubled by this. The old boy sensed something. Fate had given them two important awakenings, neither of which could be called a coincidence. Fate had a tendency to always balance out somehow. Good luck and bad luck. Hiashi knew that if two children were to be born with exalted dojutsu that gave them the same strength as the founders of the shinobi world, then it meant that an equal threat must rise. After all, everything had its equals and opposites. For every positive force in the universe, there was a negative, and Hiashi could only fear what might be coming. As Naruto entered the compound, he saw Neji waiting for him. Naruto stood there for a moment and gazed at Neji's smirk. It was an inviting smile. Neji was wearing a black sleeveless shirt and roomy shorts. His fists were wrapped up, as were his feet. The outfit was one Naruto had come to dread. This was Neji's "I'm gonna kick your ass" outfit. It meant he was about to strong-arm Naruto into a duel. "I've been teaching you everything I know non-stop, because I sense the potential in you to be a challenge to me," Neji said. "I was told by my teammate that hard work surpasses birthright. I think it's a load of crap. But if at all possible, then I plan to capitalize on my natural talent by working hard to surpass you and your cheap Mangekyo Byakugan, or whatever you'd like to call it. If it's true that hard work can surpass natural talent, then imagine what would happen if natural talent worked as hard as someone like Lee. I've been strengthening you to turn you into a diving board for me to jump into my deeper well of potential, and now it's time to see if I've wasted my time or not." Naruto looked around. "Neji, I just got back. Can we schedule this for tomorrow?" Naruto attempted to walk past. Neji held his arm out to stop him. "Planning to push it off just because you went on an afternoon jog with my cousin? I just got done with my own exercises, so we're even." Naruto looked to Hinata, who then looked to Hiyashi, who was just now putting down his paper and showing interest in this with a bit of a smile. Naruto looked over. "Fine, but at least allow me to get changed first." Neji removed his hand. "Come prepared to go all out. Know that I will." Naruto walked past Neji and into his room, where he changed into a pair of old shorts and a roomy black t-shirt that had a swirling pattern, not unlike the visual representation of the village's will of fire emblazoned on the front. Wrapping his hands and feet properly, he would return to Neji. Naruto would stand about 4 meters away from Neji, who stood there with both hands behind his back. "Your inability to properly release chakra from every tenketsu in your body severely hinders your ability to master the gentle fist. But that does not mean you cannot use it. Most techniques within the gentle fist make use of only the tenketsu in the hands, which is what you, like everyone else, can control. While you cannot perform 8 trigrams palm rotation, you possess the potential to learn far greater techniques. Due to this, you should consider new ways to utilize your abilities. You must consider that the greatest defense is the best offense. And on times you must defend, you must utilize the techniques you have to defend." Neji snapped a finger. Hinata appeared. She began to demonstrate for him usage of a particular technique, the protective 8 trigrams 64 palms. He watched as her speed and limber nature helped her to move in ways that Naruto couldn't dream of. Neji smirked as he watched. This technique offers a great defense, but also serves as a great offense. This is the technique type you should strive for as a user of the gentle fist without the capacity to use all available techniques. Naruto shook his head. "I doubt I could keep up with that. The limberness of movement required." Neji smiled. "Your muscles are stiff because you only use them one way, Naruto. You build more and more mass without the knowledge of how to use it. For our techniques and our abilities, raw physical strength is meaningless, and in most cases, excess muscle mass simply gets in the way. The way of the Hyuga is precision. We do not do anything needlessly. Discipline is held. Strength is important, but only so long as it does not get in the way of precision. I suggest that from here on out, Naruto, you train with Hinata in the mornings. Every day at dawn, she performs yoga. If you wish to continue down this path, you must as well." Naruto nodded. Neji then smiled. "Fair. I will handicap myself today. No palm rotation. That should put us on more even ground. Now show me that I did not waste my time teaching you." Naruto rushed forward toward Neji, striking out with open palms. Neji would push this aside as Naruto's chakra expelled from his hands with intense pressure. Neji attempted to come through from under to strike Naruto's solar plexus. Such a place would be devastating. It was taught to practitioners of this style that the stomach was the seat of chakra, and that the solar plexus was the root of the nerves. These two places, when struck, would devastate anyone, and almost guarantee a one-shot victory when using this technique. As Neji's hand came toward Naruto's stomach, he used his own hand to push it away. Bursts of blue chakra popped out about them. Both adversaries' Byakugan were active, the veins in their temples bulging with strain to see everything at once in fine detail. Neji's lip turned up in a smile as Naruto was displaying incredible progress, but it was time to finish this. He swept Naruto's leg, putting him on the ground, and then raised a palm to strike his abdomen. But to Neji's surprise, Naruto rolled back. Having not lost his bearing from the fall, he seemed ready the moment he hit the ground, and took it in stride. In fact, if Neji didn't know better, he would assume that Naruto purposefully left himself open to bait Neji into a position he could predict. He came in with a palm strike to Neji's shoulder, attempting to take out his non-dominant arm. A small victory in a battle like this. Neji flipped back with one hand and stood there to check his shoulder. His hand was dangling numb and lifeless to the side. Neji took this brief respite to repair the damage done, placing his own hand on his shoulder and sending a pulse of chakra in to unclog his tenketsu. He did so and managed to regain motor functions within it. However, this was only partially successful, as his arm was still weak and was still very much numb. These two things together would limit his precision and make this arm practically useless offensively speaking, which he knew Naruto would now know. Neji's smile turned into a scowl as his pride took as much damage as his shoulder had. But all the same, Neji needed to maintain control. Loss of emotion also hindered precision. One must be in perfect control at all times to make use of this technique pool. He took a deep breath and held it there for a few seconds before releasing it and offering a smirk. Well done, Naruto. The first point belongs to you, but round 2 is about to begin and I believe in best 2 of 3. Neji would be the one to initiate the attack. It was time to stop holding back. He would come at Naruto with both hands open. Even if his left hand was mostly useless, he knew where the tenketsu were, and even a strike in their general location would be enough to at least cause pain and slight numbness via proximity damage. He knew Naruto wouldn't expect him to use his left hand, and that's why Neji would use it. He would lead in with a feint strike with his dominant hand that Naruto would parry before Neji struck him in the side near his liver. Naruto was struck and took a few steps to the side before falling over, gripping his side. Naruto writhed for a moment before managing to sit up. "Hey, that was a dirty strike!" Neji shook his head. "This is more than a test of the skills I've taught you, Naruto. This is a true spar, as close to a real battle as you and I will come." Neji then crossed his arms. "Second point belongs to me. Now up, let's continue our duel." Naruto managed to stand. This time, neither rushed in. They simply began to circle each other. Proper caution had been achieved by both sides at this moment, as they were only now finishing measuring themselves and properly gauging where they stood in this moment. Hinata sat with her father, as even Hanabi and the other Hyuga present began to watch. "Who do you think will win, father?" Hinata asked. Hiyashi stood there and waited in the balance. Neji is unquestionably stronger than Naruto. After all, Neji has taken the role of Naruto's master for these past few months. But Neji has handicapped himself and refused to use one of the most important techniques of the gentle fist. Given Naruto's ingenuity and quick nature, as well as Neji's drive and determination, it could go either way. Puffs of chakra expelled from the boys' hands as they continued to strike at each other. By this time, Neji's numb arm was starting to get its chakra back to boil, and control was growing more steady with each passing moment. Naruto was still feeling the residual effects of being struck near the liver. This had become more than just a spar. It had become a chance to determine who would be top dog. Naruto always knew this moment would come. Neji was a prideful boy, and even though he taught Naruto everything he knew, one could not expect that Neji would just roll over and be okay with Naruto surpassing him. Neji had said it himself. He was training Naruto simply so he could become a good foil for Neji that would push him to new heights. Naruto refused to let this remain. He would prove that he could be better than the genius, even if he couldn't use palm rotation. As each attack came in, it was parried, causing this portion of the battle to outlast the previous 2/3 by at least 4 minutes. Neji would create distance and would utilize vacuum palm to push Naruto back a ways and create distance. Neji began attempting something. Chakra began to mold around his hands. Hiyashi sat forward. "Impossible." Hinata looked to her father. "What is it?" Neji took his time to properly mold the chakra, and by the time it finished, it looked as if his hands were surrounded by blue lion heads. "Gentle step, twin lions." Neji raced forward. He jumped into the air ready to strike Naruto. Naruto would see this coming and his Tenseigan would activate. He would then attempt to make use of the protecting 8 trigram 64 palms, intent to block Neji's attack. With Neji pushed back to defend himself from these sharp blades, Naruto rushed at Neji with an open palm. At that moment, Neji released a palm rotation, knocking Naruto back. Naruto sat there for a moment before sitting up. "Hey, you said you weren't going to use that technique." Neji stood there for a moment before responding. "Well, you utilized your Tenseigan." Naruto stood. "Nuh-uh, you're not pulling that. You put restrictions on yourself. You never told me I couldn't do things." Neji looked around at the Hyuga watching the battle. He pushed his hair back with a slightly false smile, meant to make things look a little better for him. "So I did. Well, how about we just call this battle a draw then?" Neji extended his hand to Naruto. Naruto looked down at it and then around at the others watching the scene. He also put on a mostly false grin. "Sure, a draw it is." He shook Neji's hand as there was some clapping in the background before the crowd dispersed. After this, Hiyashi stood and walked over. "Neji, I didn't know you knew the gentle step twin lions technique. That's an incredibly difficult technique to master. When did you learn it?" Neji thought about it. "About a month ago." Hiyashi was confused. "A month?" Neji nodded. "You displayed the technique 2 months ago to Hinata and Hanabi. I witnessed it and began working on it myself." Hiyashi was even more surprised. "So, you saw it demonstrated once and then mastered it in a month?" Neji nodded. Hiyashi laughed. "I had to be shown 14 times, and only after 2 years did I master that technique. You truly are something else, Neji." The boy let off a slight smile of pride. He offered a slight bow and proceeded to go on his way to clean up. Hiyashi looked to Naruto and put a hand on his shoulder. "You did good as well, Naruto. Your incomplete usage of Hinata's technique served you well, but could be improved." Naruto nodded solemnly. Hiyashi put his other hand on Naruto's other shoulder. "Hey now, don't look so glum. You managed to faithfully recreate a technique that you saw only once, with a body incapable of properly performing the task. That's a feat close to par with the gentle step." Hiyashi was lying through his teeth. Gentle step was 10 times harder. Naruto offered up a smile and a slight bow and also left to clean up. That night after supper, he went to bed. Tomorrow would be the first day of school since renovations had ended. Naruto was excited to see what the interior looked like. The day after, however, he woke up to Hinata standing in front of him. "Hinata?" he questioned. She smiled at him. "Would you like to join me for yoga today?" Naruto looked at the clock and then out the window. "Has the sun even risen yet?" he asked. She shook her head. "That's what makes it magical. Come on." Naruto begrudgingly got out of bed and changed into some training clothes. He met her outside where she had set out 2 mats. She stood by the eastern gate of the compound overlooking the horizon. "This is my favorite place to train," she said. Naruto then followed her lead. She got down on the mat and began contorting her body in ways that Naruto considered ungodly. She knew he was fresh to this, so she helped him get started and to move slowly. "It's important to remain relaxed, Naruto. Don't strain. If you do, you'll get a cramp, and those can ruin your day if you're not careful." She helped him find a good starting place. She was twisting her body and doing handstands, all while Naruto could barely do the bow. Hinata was already doing the peacock, which she then transitioned into the crow. Naruto tried to do a crow, but all he succeeded in doing was falling flat on his face. Hinata laughed so hard that she too fell over. She helped Naruto stand. "Perhaps I should slow down as well to help you get your footing." Naruto shook his head. "No, I don't want to hold you back." Hinata giggled. "You won't. I'm just going to slow down as to not intimidate you. I'll help you learn. Let's focus on some standing poses for now. It'll be easier." She had Naruto get into a straight stance. "Follow me," she said. She leaned forward. "Downward facing dog." Naruto followed. Thereafter she stood. Warrior 1. She then transitioned into Warrior 2. The two continued like this until the sun had fully risen over the horizon, painting the sky orange. Naruto would then do a few more training exercises with Hinata, learning techniques that he hadn't known before, working on mastering the protective 8 trigram 64 palms. They continued training like this until Hiyashi awoke. Breakfast was made and Naruto and Hinata ate together. Naruto rubbed his shoulders as he felt the pain within them. "Man, my body hasn't been this sore in a long time." Hinata scoffed a laugh as she took another bite of food. "Did you think my exercises were easy? I'm growing stronger too, Naruto, but I'm doing it in a streamlined fashion to optimize speed and precision, and now you are too. Just you wait, you'll start seeing the results you're looking for soon." After breakfast, the two would change into their school clothes and gather their books and things. They then walked to school together. As soon as they entered homeroom, they heard the clamoring. They witnessed one of their classmates, Sasuke Uchiha, standing among a crowd of people. Naruto couldn't help but be interested. He walked over to the crowd, Hinata not far behind. "What's going on?" Sasuke turned around to display lavender eyes, from which rings spanned out from the center. Sasuke let out a smile. "Apparently, I'm the next Six Paths." The two boys stood there, their divinely blessed eyes locked. It was as if fate itself had ordained this moment. The moment where these two knew that their futures would be inevitably locked forever. The day where yin and yang met once again. "It just happened one day," Sasuke said as each of the students listened in. It was lunchtime and literally everyone was falling all over themselves to get to talk to Sasuke. Naruto and Hinata, though not too close, were still interested in the story being told. "I had always known that there was something different, but what it was I could have never expected. Just a few days ago, I awakened these eyes. My father said that it meant that I would bring peace to the world." Naruto put on a slightly amused smile. "Well, there goes my popularity. Back to being class dud." Hinata giggled ever so slightly as she put her hand on his. "That's not true, Naruto. You've never been a dud and you never will be. The other students are oohing and awing over the shiny new Dojutsu. It doesn't mean that they don't still value yours." Naruto smiled. "Even if they don't, I don't really mind it. My eyes are special and they're descended from the Byakugan, the greatest of all Dojutsu. I don't need anyone to tell me it's awesome to know it is." Hinata blushed slightly. Though this wasn't a compliment solely for her, she felt as if it had been. So often the Byakugan was overlooked when compared to the Sharingan. The Byakugan could not cast Genjutsu, nor could it evolve into a stronger variant to gain new abilities. There were no Susanos in the Byakugan's future, but it possessed so many cool abilities that she believed that it could easily go toe-to-toe with a Mangekyo. For instance, the moment that a Dojutsu technique is cast, a flaring of chakra would be generated within a Mangekyo Sharingan, and the Byakugan could see it. The Byakugan could see just about everything. And with that ability came the gentle fist techniques that only the Hyuga could learn. Though the most powerful among the Uchiha might be able to simulate certain techniques with a lot of straining and a lot of luck, there were just some things the Byakugan could do that the Sharingan could not, and that was the reason why the Byakugan and the Hyuga clan were the eternal rivals of the Sharingan and the Uchiha. After lunch, classes resumed, though it could hardly be paid attention to by the rest of the class. Everyone's minds were on the Rinnegan. It hadn't been seen in generations. Rumors abounded that the last time it had been awakened was by Madara Uchiha himself, but these sources could not be substantiated, especially since he was dead and buried. His Rinnegan had all but become worm food by this point. That sounded a little worse than I meant it to. Regardless, there was no proof that Madara had them other than legends passed down by the Uchiha. So this was the first confirmed case since the Sage of Six Paths. After this, recess was called to give the tired minds of the students another chance to relax before returning once more to learn. Naruto and Hinata sorta stuck around each other while the rest of the class focused on Sasuke. She noticed Naruto looking over his shoulder at Sasuke. "Naruto, it's okay." He would look to her. "Huh?" She smiled. "I can tell that it's getting to you. Don't let it." "It's not," Naruto said. "I just don't like his smug attitude. He gets a new ability and suddenly the world revolves around him. I don't think that's very cash money is all." Hinata looked down, slightly amused by this. "Naruto, you weren't too different not long ago. You were the center of attention and you liked it. And that's perfectly fine. It's natural for people to want to be liked, and now you feel that it's all gone just because somebody else appeared. But remember that popularity doesn't last." Naruto listened intently to what she had to say as they gently went up and down. "Listen, Naruto, in about a month, something new will take its place, or perhaps your own popularity might skyrocket again. There's no telling what could happen. Just don't let it bother you. Be happy for him. Now he's feeling as loved as you were, and that can't be a bad thing." Naruto smiled. "You're right. How could I be so selfish? I'm happy for him. I hope his popularity lasts longer than mine did." Hinata grinned brightly. "That's the spirit. Just know, Naruto, you'll always be the most popular boy to me." They continued to play for a while until suddenly a voice called out, "Hey!" They stopped. Naruto looked back to see Sasuke standing there, the entire class behind him. He had a smirk on his face, his hands on his hip, his head angled in such a way that he stared down the bridge of his nose at Naruto, as if he were somehow better than him. "There's a debate among the class right now," Sasuke said. "They want to know which is stronger, the Rinnegan or the Tenseigan. I've decided to settle the debate here and now." Naruto was sitting there, looking up from the seesaw that was on the ground. Hinata was dangling in the air as this happened. "They're both pretty much the same," Hinata said. "We're talking about Hamada and Hagoromo's Dojutsu. They're evenly matched." Sasuke looked back at the others around the class with a little chuckle and then back to Naruto. "I don't think so. Hamada did have to go live on the moon. It's obvious that Hagoromo is stronger. That's how it is for Uchiha and Hyuga as well. While you guys may be founders of the village just like us, there's no doubt that we're the stronger of the two." Naruto's gaze turned dark. Hinata looked at him. "Naruto, he's just trying to bait you. Suddenly, Naruto stood from the seesaw, causing Hinata to crash back down into the ground. "Big words from a boy that only recently awakened his Dojutsu. I've had mine my whole life, trained mind, body, and soul to use it. I suggest you take your little posse and go back across the yard before I show you what it means to be top dog." Sasuke smirked and drew closer to Naruto to look directly into his eyes. Sasuke was older than Naruto by a few months, and he did have an inch or two of height on him. "If you really are top dog, then prove it to me." Hinata walked over to Naruto and put her hands on his shoulders. "Naruto, just let it go. It's not worth it. Remember control. The Hyuga are a clan of control, both physical and emotional. The best way to honor our clan is to simply walk away and prove that you're the bigger man. Trust me." Naruto kept his gaze fixated on Sasuke, his chest puffed out. It was almost as if you could see the friction between their gazes. Hinata shook his arm. "Naruto." Naruto would slowly let out the breath he'd been holding in. His shoulders relaxed. "You're right, Hinata. I'm sorry." She began to pull his arm a little. "Come on, Naruto. Let's just go." Naruto began to follow her. That's when Sasuke called out, "Go back to your little compound, you pale-eyed chicken." Naruto's blood pressure skyrocketed. Hinata let go of his hand immediately, knowing that this was the last straw. Naruto was strong, and his willpower was something she could be proud of, but she knew that he had limits and he had boundaries, and Sasuke had just pushed Naruto over them all. There was nothing she could do now save watch. Naruto turned back and ran at Sasuke to punch him. Sasuke merely grabbed his fist and pushed it to the side, sending Naruto with it. Sasuke smiled at him pridefully. Is that the way of the Hyuga, rushing headlong without thinking? Hinata then called out to Naruto, "Remember your training. If you need to fight, don't embarrass us." Naruto took a deep breath. Sasuke smiled. Maybe the little Hyuga boy isn't as chicken as I thought. Naruto would take another deep breath and enter his stance. Sasuke would as well. Naruto would slowly circle Sasuke. It was safe to assume he knew what he was doing. Both boys activated their respective dojutsu. Naruto would come in with a palm strike, but Sasuke would push that away, hoping to get Naruto off balance, but Naruto swung into it so he might swing his leg in from an angle. Sasuke barely caught this and pushed it back, bringing Naruto back to both of his feet, righting his position. They continued to strike out at each other, dodging, parrying, and blocking blows. Well, Naruto was blocking blows, Sasuke couldn't and he knew that, so the two of them would continue to trade blows. It wasn't long until Iruka witnessed this and called out for them to stop before rushing in. Naruto and Sasuke would speed up a bit, knowing that the only chance they had of getting a blow in was right here and right now, and so they attempted to strike each other. Their fists crossed over with as much chakra as they could muster and struck each other in the jaw, causing both to be knocked back, landing on their rear. The strike left both boys mostly unconscious for a couple seconds. Iruka would grab them both. "You two are in big trouble." "You're in big trouble," Hiashi said to Naruto, who was sitting right in front of him. Naruto looked up to him. "But he impugned the honor of the Hyuga. What was I supposed to do?" "Not give in to his trolling. By acting out based on emotions, you proved that the Hyuga were emotionally weak and overly prideful. You essentially proved his slander correct." Naruto looked down. "I couldn't help it. Maybe it was wrong. I know I'm not even a Hyuga, but..." "Who told you that you weren't a Hyuga?" Hiashi said. Naruto looked up. "Well..." He looked away. "It's not a secret. It's not like nobody knows. My parents weren't Hyuga. I've heard it all before." Hiashi looked down on the boy. Naruto continued. "I know I'm not a Hyuga, but I love them so much. They protected me and took me in. They sacrificed for me, and when someone insults their name, it upsets me. A lot. I just want to show my gratitude. When I had nothing, you guys gave me everything. I can never repay that." Hiashi knelt down before Naruto. "Naruto, being a Hyuga, being a member of our clan goes beyond blood. You're a Hyuga through and through. Don't ever doubt that. If you weren't, I wouldn't be upset that you acted as you have. If you weren't a Hyuga, you would not have damaged our names, but only your own. You're as much a Hyuga as the rest of us." Naruto nodded. Hiashi then spoke. "You're still going to need to be disciplined. You will take up this week's chores. Not only your own, but you'll take Neji's as well. That along with your standard training should be sufficient punishment." Naruto nodded. Hiashi gave off a slight smile. "You're excused now." Naruto stood and began to leave as Hiashi sat back at his desk. Naruto stopped at the door for a moment. Hiashi looked up. "Naruto, is there something more you wish to say?" Naruto nodded, walked back in, and sat down. "I didn't understand it at the moment, and even now I can't help but wonder what it was." "What is it?" Hiashi asked. Naruto looked up. "When me and Sasuke fought, we knocked each other out, and when that happened, I saw things." Hiashi sat forward, confused. "What do you mean?" Naruto thought about it. "I saw the village. I heard a crowd cheering. I felt blood on my fists, and I heard a scream." Hiashi seemed a little concerned about this. "What do you think it was?" Hiashi asked. "I don't know." "Do you think you hurt someone?" Hiashi asked. Naruto shook his head. "No, I don't. I believe it was my blood on my knuckles, but I saw something else. There was a man hovering above us. I don't know what it means." Hiashi thought about it. "It's probably just a dream. Your rattled brain attempting to make sense of the situation. You were in a fight only moments before. Chances are you just had a strange dream. I wouldn't worry about it." Naruto nodded. "You're right. It probably was. I just had the need to tell you about it. It seemed important." Hiashi smiled. "Thank you for sharing it with me, Naruto. I will think more about it and decide if something needs to be done. For now, go back out and play with Hinata." Naruto nodded. As Naruto left, Hiashi sat there silently for a few moments. He would then close his office's door to the outer courtyard. He would open a new door to the main living quarters and move toward the place where the elder Hyuga was sitting. The elder, smoking his pipe, would look up at Hiashi. "What is it, Hiashi?" The clan head would sit down before his father. Naruto told me something interesting today. And what would that be? The elder asked. He said he had a vision of something ill to come. The elder thought about it. What was this vision? Hiyashi began to tell the elder about what Naruto had told him, and the elder contemplated it. It's troubling indeed. This hovering man, the blood on the knuckles, the cheering and screaming. It could be interpreted any number of ways, but if I were to piece anything together, I think it means this. Naruto finds himself somewhere in the village while others are cheering for him, but a fight breaks out with some unknown entity and Naruto ends up hurt in the process. It's only a dream though, isn't it, father? The elder thinks about it. I would hope so, but even you yourself stated that fate can be funny sometimes. A Tenseigan and a Rinnegan awakening together in the same generation, after not having any confirmation of having been seen in nearly a millennium. Fate is balancing. It's giving us tools to deal with something. And considering that Naruto had this vision after a fight with the Rinnegan user at school, I highly doubt this to be a coincidence. Naruto should have no knowledge of this possible threat unless someone has told him. It's possible he figured it out on his own, Hiyashi said. After all, he does seem to pick up things fast and can be capable of intelligent thought when nurtured. The elder stroked his chin and nodded. Well, we can't be certain what he saw, but one thing is certain. He needs to train to face this threat head on. I believe it's about time to put him on a team. Hiyashi nodded, but what team should he go on? The elder thought about it. We should put him on a team with Neji and Hinata. That way the three of them can stick together. But who will lead them? Hiyashi asked. The elder once more entered deep thought. A good leader would be Tokuma. It's said that his Byakugan are the strongest, and he's honed his skills as a tracker. He's proficient in our taijutsu techniques, and he's just as level-headed as he is intelligent. I think he would make for a proper jonin to lead them. Hiyashi thought about this. Perhaps. Should I go ahead and assign them to this team? The elder nodded. You don't think Neji will mind, do you? He seems to enjoy branching off a bit. It might feel constricting to him to place him on a team with only his cousins. The elder waved it off. Neji's role in this is the same as all secondary branch members, to protect the clan. For him to do this, he'll do better to be on a team comprised of Naruto and Hinata. And considering that he, Naruto, and Hinata are often training together, it only makes sense. It's easier to synergize with people you already know and understand, rather than forming a new bond to learn over. Whether he likes it or not, it will be his obligation to fulfill this request. Hiyashi nodded. Of course. Outside, Naruto sat on the edge of the stairs and watched as Neji and Hinata sparred about. The way Neji sparred with Hinata was different from how Neji sparred with Naruto. The two were close, their arms touching as they moved around each other in a circle. It seemed less like a spar and more like some elaborate dance that they practiced day in and day out. And perhaps it was a dance. Wasn't dance itself and taijutsu both considered an art form? As they stopped circling each other, Neji would start by saying numbers followed by movements. 1. He would attempt to strike her only for her to push it aside. 2. He would say as he struck her with his other hand, which would also be blocked. 4. He would attempt to kick her before quickly shouting 9, where he attempted to go right into a leg sweep. She would push the leg to the side and then jump over the sweep. Neji would then begin to do more moves with more numbers before speeding up and switching numbers around. He would say them quicker and in quick succession. Hinata would perform the same defenses as before. She wasn't attempting to fight back. Naruto recognized this, and as Neji's speed increased, so too did hers, to the point that it was almost amazing. Eventually, Neji pulled back. That's enough. The two would take a step away from each other and bow in respect. Naruto smiled as Hinata grabbed the towel to wipe off sweat. Neji looked back at Naruto as he too grabbed the towel and took a swig of some fluid inside of a bottle. He sat down and motioned Naruto over. Naruto walked over. Have you been practicing your defenses, Naruto? Naruto nodded. Neji smiled. Good, let's test them out. Once again, he began striking, calling out numbers. Naruto would dodge them. The speed kept increasing, and eventually Neji stopped calling out numbers altogether. Naruto kept dodging and parrying. So, Neji said as he struggled through his attacks, Hinata tells me you got into a fight today at the academy. Please tell me you didn't embarrass us. I did, said Naruto. I gave into my emotions and got into a fight. No, I mean, please tell me you at least won, Neji said. Naruto once again shook his head. No, we reached a draw. We knocked each other out. Neji groaned as he increased the speed of his attacks, hoping Naruto would make a mistake so he would have an excuse to strike him. Well, this was at least the Rinnegan boy, right? Naruto nodded. It was indeed. Then I suppose it's forgivable. As Neji kept striking out at him, Naruto then spoke. Neji, are the Uchiha better shinobi than us? Neji stopped attacks completely. What? Naruto looked like he just realized he had made a terrible mistake, but couldn't go back on it now. You know, they got the Sharingan, and the Sharingan has a lot more potential than the Byakugan. It can mutate without anything special being lined up. Neji began to strike out at Naruto again, albeit slower so as to have this conversation with him. Naruto, our Byakugan isn't weak. Maybe it can't cast Genjutsu, but any Joe with Yin release can cast Genjutsu. And the only thing that the Sharingan can do besides that is see things quickly and get out of Genjutsu easily. And the Byakugan can do that in spades. Naruto thought about it as he continued to spar. But the Sharingan possesses the ability to mutate into a Mangekyo form and gain new abilities. Neji had to admit this was quite powerful, the ability to get 3 new abilities. But it wasn't everything. The difference here, Naruto, is that we know the potential of our Byakugan. Maybe we don't develop a Susanoo or 2 random abilities, but the point is no Uchiha knows what their Mangekyo abilities will be before they achieve them, save Susanoo. The Hyuga spend all their lives honing their technique and their dojutsu. We know what to expect from our Kekai Genkai, and we spend our entire lives making it work. Besides, the Mangekyo goes blind if overused, so it does have a downside. I've read that most users of the Mangekyo go blind before they even manage to complete their Susanoo, and that's the gifted users. Trust me, Naruto, the Sharingan isn't as good as people make it out to be. It's overrated. With our dojutsu, we can see every weakness in their body, their form, and their various jutsu. We can kill with a touch. We don't need a baseball bat like the Uchiha do. We have a scalpel. Naruto nodded. Neji saw he was still a bit unconvinced. Listen, Naruto. Being a good shinobi isn't based on your Kekai Genkai. The Sharingan and the Byakugan are just tools that we make use of. Any shinobi can be great. Rock Lee has been teaching me this. Did you know he can't even use standard ninjutsu? Just earlier today, he and I sparred like you and I did a few days ago. He nearly beat me. Me, a shinobi, a prodigy of the Hyuga, master of the Gentle Fist and the Byakugan, and user of ninjutsu. A guy who can only power up with chakra and straight hard work nearly toppled me. There was once a quote from a wise and powerful martial artist, and what he said was true. I fear not the man who's practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced 1 kick 10,000 times. We all have different skills, Naruto, and while it's good to be varied, sometimes all it takes is for you to focus on your gift to overtake the skills of others. Lee showed me that. Nothing but gates and taijutsu, and he seemed to almost tank everything I threw at him. We're all the same, Naruto. We're different, but we're all powerful shinobi in our own right. And for us, the Byakugan is our blessing. Our powerful technique we practice 10,000 times. Naruto listened to what Neji was saying. So even if we're not as varied as the Sharingan, we still have the same potential? Neji smiled. Yes, we do. We can practice our techniques over and over and over again, and we can bring them out whenever we desire. Our power surpasses that of the standard Sharingan, and our ability to see surpasses that of the Mangekyo. The Mangekyo only beats us with various and oftentimes hacks techniques. But the difference here is that we can practice our techniques as many times and as often as we want. The Mangekyo has a limit to how much it can be used before it grows weaker. And in a battle of attrition, a Byakugan user will always overpower a Sharingan user. That's why we focus on taijutsu and control. That way we can last as long as possible while remaining as precise as possible. Rarely will you find anyone as fast and precise as a Hyuga. In a battle against a Sharingan user, attempt to stall as long as you can. Do not be intimidated by the Susanoo, it burns as much chakra as it takes to form it. Don't be intimidated by the hack's abilities. Discover what they are and wait for them to be used. Then dodge. The more the Mangekyo is used, the weaker the user becomes. Then you can strike. Naruto begins to smile, faith in his abilities being restored. I want to learn to be faster, more controlled, stronger. Neji gave a silent laugh in the form of a huff. Then stick with me and we'll keep honing our skills together. Eventually, nobody will be able to stand in our way. Naruto and Neji continue to spar for quite some time until the sun sets. The trio, Neji, Hinata, and Naruto, all bid each other goodnight and make their way to bed. Naruto hits the hay and goes to sleep almost immediately due to how hard he trained. Despite this, he's up and out of bed before the sun even rises. Getting his training clothes, he makes his way out to Hinata, who has already set up her mat. He rolls his out as well. Oh, you're joining me today? He nods. I hope you don't mind. She giggles a bit. Not in the least. I just planned to let you sleep in today since you had such a big day yesterday. Naruto gets into position and begins emulating what he sees to the best of his ability. After some time, his balance slowly begins to improve, as does his flexibility. He never imagined so much strength could be required to do what mostly he had in the past considered glorified stretching. No, yoga was far more than that. It was strength training, it was time under tension, it helped with limberness and with balance. This was a wonderful way to train. It allowed him to grow stronger without growing stiffer. After they finished this, they began to focus on perfecting the protective 8 trigrams 64 palms. Just like yesterday with Neji, the protective 64 palms has a set of movements you're supposed to take. We practice these moves and perfect them until we can do them without thinking. Then we practice more. It allows us to move even faster. Keep it up, Naruto. You'll get it soon. Naruto would proceed to do as she had shown him. He streamlined a single but intense stream of chakra from one of the tenketsu in his hands, before moving into the defensive movements she had shown him. His strikes started out somewhat sloppy, with plenty of openings between them, but the defense began to tighten and cover all open spaces until it was almost a perfect, tight grid pattern. He slowly began to speed up, which would further increase his chances of successfully defending against all attacks. This technique, if honed properly, will allow you to emulate the defensive properties of the 8 trigrams palm rotation. Sadly, it won't have the same blowback as that attack, but it also won't waste as much chakra either, so there's that. Naruto eventually came to a stop. It doesn't have the same blowback. Do you think we could fix that? Hinata cocked her head. How so? Naruto thought about it for a moment. What if we incorporate vacuum fist into this technique? Hinata thought about it. Protective 8 trigrams 64 vacuum palms, she said out loud. It's kind of a mouthful, but it could be possible. But you might sacrifice cutting power for knockback. I don't know. But you could always work on it. Test it to see if it works. Test it to see if it's compatible. Naruto agreed and then would collect his things. He would pick up his towel and his drink and began to do the chores he had set out for not only himself, but for Neji as a part of his discipline for fighting Sasuke. After this, he made his way to breakfast. Entering the dining room, he saw that breakfast was already made and that Hiashi was not present. So Naruto, Neji, and Hinata had a nice breakfast alone together. Once this was finished, they would be called into Hiyashi's office. All 3 of them. They would enter and see a Hyuga Jonin standing there. Children, allow me to formally introduce you to your newest Jonin, Tokuma. Newest Jonin? Wait, does that mean we're all formally on a team now? And that team is me, Naruto, and Neji? Hiyashi gave off a small laugh. I can't surprise you for anything. That's what I get for raising such intelligent children. Naruto seemed to be stoked about it, but Neji showed no emotion whatsoever. What's the matter, Neji? Do you not like this idea? Neji thought about it. It's a nice idea, but I already had my sights on joining Team Guy with Tenten and Lee. I've been interested in Lee's style for quite some time, and I want to experience it more myself. Hiyashi nodded. I assumed this would be the case, but I think it's better if you were on a team with Naruto and Hinata, since you 3 work so well together. Hiyashi then looked down at a picture frame sitting on his desk. It displayed a large family photo, and Hiyashi noticed his brother, Hisashi. He remembered how he had so bravely given his life for Hiyashi. He had promised Hisashi before he died that he would take care of Neji, and now Hiyashi was remembering that promise right now. Unless you would rather be on Team Guy, I will give you autonomy to decide for yourself which team you wish to be on. But for now, Hinata and Naruto will be on the same team together. Neji thanked him. I will make my decision soon. After this, Tokuma stepped forward. It's a pleasure to meet you all, he said. I have a feeling we're going to make a good team together. Neji sat alone in his room at night as he was thinking about things. He'd been given the opportunity to choose for himself. For the first time in his life, he had the chance to choose freedom, to decide what team he was on. Neji was weighing it in the balance. Elsewhere, Naruto was already asleep, but Hinata laid in her bed, looking out at the moon with a bit of a smile. She finally had the opportunity to be on a team with Naruto. This was something she wanted for so long, just a chance to be close to him. She suspected that he wanted it as well. She was so excited about this that she was hardly able to sleep. That impacted her the day after when she nearly missed her sunrise yoga session. Naruto was out there before she was. She stopped and watched for a moment as Naruto attempted to perform a few more advanced moves, but he slowly fell over. She giggled about it. She walked over with her own mat and laid it down beside his. Oh, good morning, Hinata. Sorry I'm late, she said in response. I accidentally slept in. Did I miss the sun rising over the mountains? She looked out to see that the sun was halfway over the mountain. Only a part of it, Naruto said. Hinata was a little saddened by this, but she took a deep breath. It's okay. I still get to see the rest of it with you. She began to perform her own yoga. She was putting Naruto to shame, standing on her hands and venturing into new poses without ever touching the ground with anything save the palms of her hands. To a point, it looked as if she had switched from yoga to gymnastics. Naruto attempted to mirror her, and to his credit, he was capable of keeping up. He was a little wobbly, and a few times he had to touch the ground with his knees to reposition himself. He would then get into another handstand and lift his legs into the air. She looked to him as they were both upside down and smiled. You're really getting the hang of this. Naruto smiled. After this, they both went to begin their combat training for the day. Naruto managed to display a near-perfect protective 8 trigram 64 palms. After this, she requested that he attempt this with vacuum palm, as he had mentioned not long ago. He began to do so, and as he did, he seemed to almost perfectly mimic the palm rotation, but with what seemed like more force. She was impressed by this. Afterward, she tossed him a towel. Are you ready to get breakfast? Naruto caught the towel and began to wipe the sweat from his brow. Yeah, let's go. Running in, Hiyashi saw them and gave a bit of a laugh. You two must be very hungry. They both sat there with the biggest smiles. Hiyashi placed their plates in front of them. He kissed Hinata's forehead and ruffled Naruto's hair before sitting back in his chair and reading the daily news in Konoha. He looked over at Neji's plate, still steaming, but the boy nowhere to be seen. He understood that Neji was likely taking his time, trying to make his decision, and couldn't be expected to be seen very much today. But just as he thought those things, Neji entered. Hiyashi looked over at him from above his paper. Good morning, nephew. I don't suppose you've reached a decision, have you? Hiyashi began to look through the other pages. Actually, I have. Hiyashi heard this and dropped the paper. Naruto and Hinata turned around to look at him, eager about what he was going to say. Neji began to speak. For all my life, I felt like I never had a choice to do what I wanted to. I always felt like my fate was pre-decided from the moment I was born. But yesterday, you honored me with a choice, a chance to decide myself what I want my fate to be. And I am grateful beyond measure to you, uncle. Your fate should be your own, Neji. Your father did me, our clan, and Konoha in general a great service. Your freedom to choose is the absolute least we can do. So tell me, what is your decision? Neji thought about it. I weighed it in the balance, my own desires and what I wanted the most, and I reached the conclusion that I'd like to be on a team with Naruto and Hinata. Naruto and Hinata raced from their chairs to Neji to hug him. This left Neji feeling quite embarrassed. Hiyashi then spoke. I'm glad you chose to honor my desires, Neji, but you really should follow your heart. If your heart's on Team Guy, then that's where you should be. Neji shook his head. Most of my interest in Team Guy is to study and learn alongside Rock Lee, but just because I'm not on a team with him doesn't mean that I can't do that. So long as I'm allowed to train with Lee, I'll gladly serve on Lady Hinata's team. Hiyashi smiled. Feel free to train with Lee as much as you want. When Tokuma shows up today, I'll inform him of your decision. Now, come, have breakfast. You all have a big day ahead of you. And so, after breakfast, Tokuma arrived and was pleasantly surprised to hear that Neji had chosen to be on their team. For a while, the team did small missions here and there, but all that changed with the, you guessed it, Land of Waves mission. It really was all Naruto that even got Team 7 this mission in the original series, so what makes you think that he wouldn't land it for them here? Naruto, having grown tired of these easy-peasy missions, decides that he wants something more, something new, something exciting, and Hiruzen gives them just that, a chance to help an elderly man get from one village to another within the Land of Fire. It was never meant to be dangerous, but the threat of bandits was always there, which is why they were hired in the first place. Naruto was excited, of course. Hinata was nervous, and Neji was just, well, passive. That was all one could say about it. For Neji, there was no difference between this mission and simply picking up the trash on the side of the road. The only difference was that he would be walking a lot more than usual. Hiyashi, of course, was happy to hear that they were going to get their first real mission, one that he thought was perfect for them. Given the potential of the three, he believed that they could handle something even more difficult than this, but neglected to say anything as he didn't want the mission to seem too easy for them and cause disappointment. The trio and their Jonin would meet up with the elderly bridge worker at about dawn, and the four would set off back to the Land of Waves. As they walked, though, something was off. They found a puddle on the road, and Neji told Naruto to stop. Naruto looked back. What is it? Neji pointed to the water. Naruto, do you remember it raining in the past few days? Naruto thought about it. I don't. Neji nodded. He looked around. Byakugan. Using his Byakugan, he came to realize the truth. There's a set of chakra signatures coming from within that water, he said. Naruto looked to Neji and then activated his own Byakugan. What should we do? Hinata asked as she looked into it. Tokuma seemed a bit disturbed. Bandits didn't generally have access to such high-level jutsu. He looked back at Tazuna. Alright, maybe I lied, the elderly man said. I might have assassins after me. You didn't think that was important to tell us earlier? Tazuna shrugged. Sorry, I just needed the protection and couldn't afford the fee for Chunin. Tokuma grit his teeth. You and I will have a long and unpleasant conversation after this. Tokuma then turned to the others. Remember your training, guys. This just got really dangerous. Tokuma would then throw a kunai with an explosive tag into the water, watching it detonate. It blew back the demon brothers who were lying in wait. Stay close, Tokuma said. The demon brothers ran in at them, attempting to kill their target, but Naruto and Neji were ready for them. They looked to each other. Neji then said, Plan 8, Naruto. Naruto nodded. Naruto and Neji both ran in toward their targets before crossing paths and switching targets. They would both roll under their enemy's strikes. The boys moved in perfect unison. Naruto would turn around and strike his target in the elbow, as did Neji. As each of the demon brothers felt their elbows shatter under the force of the strike, Naruto and Neji would then strike 2 tenketsu in their sides before 1 in their hamstrings, causing their knees to go out from under them. Shift to plan 6. Naruto nodded. The 2 of them jumped over the top of their target before sweeping their leg and proceeding to strike 3 different tenketsu in their stomachs, causing the 2 to completely lose consciousness. Naruto and Neji would pull back. Tokuma would clap his hands. That was a good combo, you two. Well executed. Tazuna was in complete shock at the skill level of these 2 young shinobi. What was that? He asked in utter shock. Tokuma looked back. That was what we call the gentle fist technique. The 5 continued to walk, heading toward the land of waves. That was until Zabuza appeared, standing in a tree. Witnessing this higher level shinobi carrying one of the legendary 7 swords of the mist, Tokuma knew that this shinobi would be trouble. Just as before, Zabuza would get the upper hand, but instead of it being Kakashi locked in the water prison, it was Tokuma. Naruto and Neji needed to work together to get their master out, and to that end, the both of them needed to engage Zabuza. Plan 9, Naruto, Neji said. Naruto nodded. The 2 ran in towards Zabuza, with Neji running around the back of the water prison as Naruto engaged from the front. Zabuza would swing his blade at Naruto, who would dodge it, jumping away. Neji would come in towards the warrior, only to be kicked back. Neji would roll, catch himself, and throw a volley of kunai at Zabuza as Naruto drew close to strike his tenketsu. Zabuza would block the kunai with a swing of his sword. He then used the momentum of this swing to come back around and strike Naruto. Naruto attempted to move back and away from the strike, but the tip of the razor-sharp blade made contact and cut deep down Naruto's torso. Naruto cried out as Hinata called his name. He stumbled back and grabbed at his wound. He would fall to one knee and look at the blood. Tokuma was starting to lose consciousness within the bubble and looked as if he might drown any second. Neji then upped his own attacks, but when he was thrown into a tree and nearly passed out, Naruto felt a snap. His Tenseigan activated, and suddenly his body was covered in a cyan glow of chakra, as 8 truth-seeking orbs formed behind him. Naruto rushed in. Zabuza, seeing this, attempted to slash at him, only for his blade to be caught and snapped by Naruto, who then proceeded to tap almost every tenketsu at nearly impossible speeds, causing Zabuza's entire chakra pathway system to collapse upon itself, killing him. Haku saw this and came out of the trees, intent to kill Naruto, but Naruto, seeing it, sensed a truth-seeking orb straight into Haku and detonated it, killing him as well. Tokuma, having fallen out of the water prison, was only now catching his breath. He looked up. Naruto. Neji sat up from where he had nearly lost consciousness and saw this power. Naruto stood there for a moment before expelling blood from his mouth and a gurgle of a cough. Neji lost his form and fell to the ground. Naruto! Hinata cried out as she ran to him. She rolled him over and saw the wound. It's deep! Tokuma-sensei! Tokuma rushed over. He looked at the wounds. Alright, give me a second. Tokuma would utilize the gentle fist technique and begin to strike tenketsu points around the wound. Points that would cause contractions within the muscles around the wound. Naruto cried out in agony as this was done, but the good news was that the contraction of these muscles caused the muscles to slow blood flow. They then took gauze and packed it in, something else that was highly unpleasant for Naruto. There. I think we've slowed the bleeding, but we need to get him to help now or he'll die. Tazuna led them to his home on the outskirts of the land of waves. They rushed in as Tazuna instructed his daughter to go get the town doctor. She ran off. They found a place to lay Naruto down. Not long after, the doctor appeared and proceeded to check up on Naruto. He would start to work, all the while the rest of Team Tokuma waited outside patiently. Eventually the doctor came out. Good news. Nothing important was hit, and he should heal just fine. I have him stitched up and resting. The wound should close on its own, but he needs to take it easy for a little while. Tokuma would nod. Thankful of this, the group would re-enter the house. Hinata would stay by Naruto's side, holding his hand the entire time, even refusing to eat just in case Naruto needed her. Due to this, when the time came to guard the bridge, neither Naruto nor Hinata were able to go. Only Neji and Tokuma could, but as you already know, both Zabuza and Haku are dead. But this doesn't eliminate the threat entirely. Gato and his thugs still appear to cause chaos. However, when Gato sends sends his men to take Inari and Tsunami, Hinata is still there. She hears the commotion and runs outside, where she proceeds to defeat the thugs, saving Tsunami and Inari. Tsunami thanks her. Hinata feels as if something bad is happening, so she tells Inari and Tsunami that they need to gather people by the bridge. She says that the bridge symbolizes the land of waves attaining freedom from Gato's tyrannical rule, and that they need to be strong if they wish to be free. And so the two rush off and gather a small army of people intent to help, and they head for the bridge. When they get there, they see Tokuma and Neji already fighting, and they join as reinforcements. After a short battle, they push Gato and his men back, forcing them out of the village. With the mission done, they return back to the home of Tizuna, where they watch and wait until the bridge is completed. By the time it is, Naruto is already up and moving around, his wounds having healed. They proceed to return to Konoha to report on the mission. The Hokage is surprised to hear of the danger and commends them on a job well done, but he's more surprised to hear that Naruto alone has defeated one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, and due to this, offers them all a chance to join the Chunin exams. The team agrees to it and signs up. Returning home, they tell Hiyashi all about it. "You fought one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist and won?" Naruto nods. He then shows him the scar across his torso. "See, I even got a souvenir from it." Hiyashi is a mix of proud and mortified. "And you've been asked to take part in the Chunin exams. That's a great honor indeed." Hiyashi proceeds to tell each of them how he's proud of them. Soon, it's time to participate in the Chunin exams. For the most part, the written test is easy. Naruto quickly realizes that the goal is to cheat, and with his Byakugan, that is not an issue. He simply uses it to look at everyone else's answers as well, and eventually manages to write down the correct ones. Due to this, and the confidence he would have in answering the final question, Naruto would ace this test. Naruto, Neji, and Hinata would then proceed to enter the Forest of Death, where their goal is to capture the Earth Scroll from another team, while protecting their Heaven Scroll. This is a lot easier than it seems, as with the power of the Byakugan, they can easily see the scrolls and know who to attack and who to avoid. And with the benefit of the gentle fist technique, it's not hard to subdue their enemies. With this, they managed to complete the Forest of Death fairly quickly, coming in second only to the Sand Siblings. The third part of the test is a simple set of exhibition matches in which Naruto must face Kiba Inuzuka. Naruto manages to defeat him with the gentle fist. The examinees are then given a month off to train for the finals, where Naruto and Hinata proceed to train extensively together. Naruto becomes far more proficient in yoga, and his combat abilities continue to grow as he works with Neji, but Naruto further trains on his own. He manages to reacquire the strange transformation he achieved in the Land of Waves, and as he returns to the Chunin exams, he is extremely excited. Naruto manages to defeat his next opponent with ease, but Sasuke does as well, and it becomes apparent that the two of them will face each other in the finals. The entirety of Konoha grows excited about this, and they're not the only ones. Naruto himself grows excited as well. Naruto and Sasuke meet each other in the arena. "Are you ready for this?" Sasuke asks with the same overly confident smirk he always has. Naruto smiles. "I've been waiting for this day for what feels like an eternity. Ever since that fight we had on the playground, the only thing I've been thinking about is wiping the floor with your ass." Sasuke's smirk turns into a determined scowl. "Then let's see if you really have what it takes. No holds barred, 100% from the start." As he said this, his eyes shifted into the form of the Rinnegan. Naruto's eyes then shift to the Tenseigan. "Deal." And with that, the battle begins. Naruto rushes at Sasuke, and Sasuke at Naruto. Naruto attempts to make use of the gentle fist technique to strike Sasuke, but Sasuke knows what this is. He's prepared for this fight for a long time. He's studied the gentle fist technique and the tenketsu on the body. He knew what points Naruto was aiming for, and though Sasuke was incapable of using the same techniques as Naruto, he was capable of predicting where Naruto's strikes would be. He would push them back before spinning around Naruto's strike and elbowing him in the face. Naruto was pushed back. He felt a bruise already forming on his cheekbone. He looked back at Sasuke, who stood there with a look of superiority. Naruto smiled and would begin to walk back toward him. As Naruto ran towards Sasuke, he began to do somersaults, and as he did so, his hand touched the ground and caused it to rise into a shape not too dissimilar from himself. He had formed golems with this power and would use them to attack Sasuke. Sasuke would raise his hand and utilize the Ashura path to form missiles from his hand and fire them at each golem, destroying them. He would then turn to Naruto and use the Diva path to throw Naruto back. Naruto hit the wall hard. He hit the ground on one knee for a moment and shook his head and rose back to his feet. He looked to Sasuke again, who stood there smiling. "Well, let me get serious then," Naruto said. Suddenly his body was consumed in the cyan fire of a chakra mode. Sasuke saw this and was startled. Naruto formed his Truth Seeker orbs behind him, 2 of which he turned into a baton and a staff. Sasuke formed 2 chakra rods in his hand to defend himself. Naruto rushed at Sasuke. Sasuke raised his hand again to use the repulsive forces of the Diva path, but Naruto raised his hand and utilized some gravitational forces of his own, which almost seemed to take over Sasuke's. Naruto swung his weapons at Sasuke, who would catch them with his own. The two would strike out against each other, and it was obvious that Naruto had the upper hand. Sasuke would step back and would smile. He would summon a Susanoo. Naruto was shocked at the strength of Sasuke at this moment and had not known that Sasuke possessed such potential. The Susanoo struck out at Naruto, but Naruto jumped back. Naruto would touch the ground and form a massive golem to fight back against Sasuke's Susanoo. The Susanoo was incomplete, but it was strong. The two massive avatars fought until Naruto put a crack within the Susanoo. He would jump from his golem to the crack and smash a truth-seeking orb into it, opening the path up. He would dive in and proceed to utilize the 8 trigram 64 palms on Sasuke. Suddenly, the Susanoo dissipated as Sasuke fell to the ground, conscious but unable to move. Naruto was declared the winner and Sasuke was carted off. With his victory secured, the Hokage would approach him to congratulate him. Having secured victory, he was to become a Chunin. A new vest was brought out to Naruto and given to him. Naruto quickly fastened it on. "Congratulations, Naruto," Hiruzen said. "Thanks, Lord Hiruzen. It means a lot." Suddenly, there was a gasp from the crowd as people pointed up to the heavens. Naruto and Hiruzen looked up. They saw 2 figures hovering there. Each one had pale white skin and horns coming from their heads. "Congratulations indeed," the smaller of the 2 said. "You've proven your strength, but it won't be enough to save you." "Who are you?" Naruto called out to them. The smaller one spoke. "I am Momoshiki Otsutsuki, and this is Kinshiki. We have come to reclaim what's rightfully ours." "What do you mean?" Naruto asked. Momoshiki then began to speak. "1,000 years ago, one of our lower class clansmen came here to claim Earth's natural energy. Her name was Kaguya, but she betrayed her compatriot and proceeded to take all the chakra for herself. And it seems that she bred that chakra into you. It's unusual to see people like yourself in possession of the greatest dojutsu of the Otsutsuki clan. It makes me think that you possess far more than just our chakra. But regardless, I've come to take back that chakra that was supposed to belong to my family, and I'll start with you." The people in the stands began to panic as Momoshiki and Kinshiki lowered to the ground. Naruto raised his weapons. "You know I'm not just gonna let you have it, right?" Momoshiki smiled. "I would have it no other way." Momoshiki and Kinshiki would rush at Naruto, and the 3 would begin trading blows. Naruto was obviously at a disadvantage. In the stands, Hiashi spoke. "The day we have long feared has arrived. And now we know why fate has given us 2 users of heavenly eyes. I have confidence in Naruto's abilities to fight, but Sasuke needs to be here too. I don't think Naruto can do this alone." Hinata heard this and rushed down to the medical wing where she found Sasuke laying there. "Up and at him," she said as she struck his tenketsu to unblock it and allow him to move. Sasuke would sit up. Hinata would grab his hand and begin to walk to the door, only to feel her hand pulled back. She looked back to see Sasuke still sitting there. "What are you doing? You need to help Naruto." Sasuke looked at her. "Help him with what? He doesn't need my help. He's the one with the Tenseigan. That power boost is all he needs. Let him fight those monsters himself." Hinata came back. "Sasuke, I know your pride is hurt right now, but Naruto can't do this alone. He's at a disadvantage. He needs you." Sasuke scoffed. "If he's stronger than me, then he doesn't need anyone." Hinata sat there for a moment. "Sasuke, you know you and he were never supposed to have those eyes. But something happened. The chances of these eyes appearing alone is already astronomical, but for them to appear at the same time, in the same village, that's divine. Sasuke, you and Naruto were both brought together for a reason, and I believe this threat is the reason. These 2 plan to destroy the world, and they're gonna start here, in Konoha. I know you may dislike sharing the spotlight with Naruto, but if you don't help him now, there won't be a spotlight left to fight over." Naruto was doing well against them both, but he was still outmatched. He'd be knocked against a wall. As he sat there, he looked up and saw Momoshiki and Kinshiki standing above him. Momoshiki scoffed. "For someone who possesses one of the most exalted dojutsu within the Otsutsuki clan, you certainly don't have much ability to use it." Suddenly, a kunai passed between their heads and buried itself in the wall behind. Momoshiki and Kinshiki looked back. "If you want to destroy Konoha, then you have to go through me too," Sasuke shouted. Momoshiki laughed. "And who do you think you are? Just because you possess the Rinnegan, don't think yourself special." Sasuke smiled. Suddenly, he used a Menotechikara and switched places with the kunai he put in the wall before kicking both Momoshiki and Kinshiki back. The 2 Otsutsuki stumbled. Sasuke looked down at Naruto. "I hate your guts." He then extended his hand down to him. "But I hate theirs more. What do you say we team up against them? Split the workload 50-50. Naruto nodded. "Which one are you taking?" Sasuke looked back at them. "I'll take Fatso. You take Scrawny Boy." Naruto nodded. "Got it." And so the 2 of them rushed into battle against the Otsutsuki. Naruto and Sasuke together separated Momoshiki and Kinshiki from each other, pressing them. It became a more even fight, one that Momoshiki and Kinshiki felt that they might lose. And so they began to prioritize getting to each other. Kinshiki and Momoshiki managed to break free of Sasuke and Naruto, and they rushed to meet each other. Kinshiki then offered his life to Momoshiki, who would then absorb him for his chakra. Momoshiki would suddenly undergo a change that saw his horns grow out. Black markings began to litter his body as his Rinnegan and Byakugan turned a golden color. With this new power, he began to charge at Naruto and Sasuke. The two would be pushed back for a time. "What are we gonna do about this?" Sasuke asked. Naruto looked up. "There was once a rumor that the last bearers of these eyes, Hamada and Hagoromo, once faced a threat of similar strength and power. Together, they unified their strength and sealed them away in the moon. I think we could do the same. But we need to be a good ways away from Konoha to do this. Think you can get us away?" Sasuke nodded. "You get a hold of Momoshiki, and I'll do the rest." And so Naruto charged Momoshiki as Sasuke threw a kunai into the air as hard as he could, even giving it the added boost of the Diva Path. Sasuke would then rush to Naruto, who was holding Momoshiki in place. He would wrap his arms around Naruto and Momoshiki before using a Menotejikara to switch places with his kunai. He would immediately use a Menotejikara again to switch places with a rock on a distant mountain to get them away from Konoha. Once there, Momoshiki broke free. "Do you think changing locations is going to do anything?" Naruto smiled. "It gives us the freedom to actually defeat you." Naruto and Sasuke both rushed in after Momoshiki, dodging his attacks left and right. They then looked at each other and gave a nod. They channeled their Six Paths powers into the only technique they shared, Chibaku Tensei. Touching Momoshiki, they would cause the seal to begin. Suddenly, Momoshiki was encased in a massive Chibaku Tensei, which would then be fired into the heavens, leaving Earth's orbit to forever drift through space. Naruto and Sasuke were tired from this. Falling back, they'd laugh. "You know, we actually make a pretty good team," Naruto said. Sasuke laughed a bit more. "Don't push it." They would return to Konoha to a hero's welcome. The entire village was grateful for protecting them. "Do you see, Hiyashi?" Hiruzen would say. "It's because of these two that we're safe. Just as we predicted, they were born because they could protect us from something we couldn't face on our own." Hiyashi nodded. "Once more, the sages of Six Paths walk the earth. I can only hope that they'll bring us peace as they did in the past." Hiruzen smiled as he watched the two celebrate their victory. "I have a feeling that they will." And that's where I plan to call it. I think that's a nice wrap up for this series, don't you? But hey, just because the series is over, it doesn't mean that it has to be over. If you all truly liked this video and want some more of it, just let me know. Be sure to share this video around. If it gets enough views and you all want more from it, I'll consider adding extra parts to the story. While the Rinnegan has more varied abilities, the ones that the Tenseigan shares with it are far stronger. And the fact that the Tenseigan comes with a chakra mode and truth-seeking orbs makes it a more taijutsu-centered dojutsu. But anyway, be sure to like the video, subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified when more videos like this drop. Until next time, peace.